Beguris Yesha Yemine. Eile Barechev, Eile Basusim, Anachnu B'Shem Adonai Eloheinu Naskir. Hashem Hema Korov V'Nafolu, Anachnu Kamnu V'Naseidai. Adonai Yeshia Melech Yaneinu Yem Kareinu. Hashem should send victory to the Israeli army, to the American army. By the way, the Americans are also saying Tillim. They had circulated this Hexes. He's the head of the military of the United States, saying a chapter Tehillim. Yeah. He chose a chapter, I think 144, where it talks about war. And David HaMelech was asking to be successful in the war. Okay.
Rabbi Groner wasn't one of the first.
Rabbi Groner, yeah, he was there before us.
Oh, he was there before you.
He went as a permanent shliach. We went there just temporarily. We're going to start on page 45. 44, 45. And we now are understanding the pasuk is not only speaking about if a person decides and chooses to bring a carbon, but it's also talking about Hashem. If Hashem chooses, again, the word carbon, by the way, in Hebrew comes from the same word like karov. Karov means close. So when it says Adam ki Yakriv, means Hashem will want to bring close, somebody bring close to him by inspiring him and by shining his light to that person. Then it goes on to say, what should you do? That you should retain it and not lose it. You should start right away bringing your carbon, do your avodah. Oh, this is the proper place to bring in the story that I told you the other day with the Tzemach Tzedek. This helps understand that story. Tzemach Tzedek said that the Alter Rebbe offered him vast knowledge of Torah as a gift. And he said that being that the Alter Rebbe always taught them that whatever you accomplish spiritually should be through your own hard labor, he didn't want to accept the gift. And later, he regretted it. And the reason why he regretted it was he said, Torah is endless, Torah is infinite. So why couldn't I take what the Alter Rebbe would give me as a gift and take that? And then there's infinite amount of Torah. Then with the rest of it, I can keep moving and learning through my own hard labor. Why did I have to say no? And the Rebbe asked, what was it about the Tzemach Tzedek thought of later that he couldn't think of before? He didn't know before the Torah is infinite. Obviously, there was something new that he recognized here, that only as time went by, he realized a new depth. What new depth is there? Torah is infinite, so it's simple. Take whatever is given to you, and the rest you can keep growing with your own hard labor. So the answer that Tzemach Tzedek was, the answer of the Rebbe was that what the Tzemach Tzedek was saying is follows. Not that the Rebbe can give me a gift of vast knowledge, I have all this, and then the rest, which is infinite, I'll learn through my own hard labor. He meant to say that even what the Alter Rebbe gave me as a gift, I can later take that gift and work it through my hard labor, that it should become internalized. That was the difference. In other words, before we understood it to mean whatever was given to me as a gift, I'll take it. But the rest of the Torah, that's where I'm going to work hard and use my own hard labor to achieve. But the way the Rebbe explained it is that, no, I could relearn what I was given as a gift, relearn it through my hard labor, and then I'll have both advantages. It was a gift, and it's something I was able to internalize. So in a sense, what it's saying here is similar. Hashem gives me a gift. He shines his light to me. What do I do that I should be retained? I should immediately start working on transforming my nefesh bahamis, and then this light that Hashem is giving me, this gift that Hashem is giving me, will be able to be retained and internalized, and it'll be something which will last longer. Okay, so now he said that when Hashem shines his light, that basically touches the nefesh of a kiss. The nefesh of Bahamas doesn't respond to that, because nefesh of Bahamas is not godly. And therefore, even though Hashem is shining his light, the nefesh of Bahamas doesn't respond to that, but the nefesh of a kiss does. So here we're going to that part, how when the godly light shines, it mainly touches the nefesh of a kiss. And the nefesh of a kiss has to find a way to sort of transfer it and transmit it to the nefesh Bahamas. So we're starting on page 44, 45, the chapter that begins with Avo, the English, the animal soul. Avo nefesh Bahamas, but the nefesh Bahamas, shekvar yorda, it already descended in a much lower way than the nefesh Elokis. Uklula mitayvera, nefesh Bahamas now is a mixture of good and bad, meaning kedusha and klipa. Not only that, ruba kukulera, most of it is raf. In Tanya, it says that we know the difference between sholosh klipas atmayos and klipas noga, right? Klipas noga is a mixture of good and raf. What's the mixture? What's the ratio of good and bad? So Alter Rebbe says, in the world of Bria, 1/4 is bad and 3/4 is good. In the world of Yitzira, 50% is klipa, 50% is good. In the world of Asiya, which is our world, 3/4 is klipa and 1/4 is good. So that explains why our nefesh bahamis is so poor spiritually. So that's what he's saying is most of it is rubika kula ra, most of it is ra, is klipa. So you can't say that when the source of Leila shines, nefesh bahamis reacts and gets all excited. It's so full of klipa that it doesn't get excited about those things. And that's the reason why. Even if there is a source of Leila and there's a light shining, but it doesn't touch the animal soul, it doesn't touch the goof. True that the spirit of man goes upward, but the behema, which means the spirit of the animal soul, it goes downward, and it doesn't relate to things that are lofty and spiritual and godly. So what can we do about that? Zehu Avodas Adam. So that's our Avodah, that's our mission. The Vara Nefesh Bahamis, that we can take that excitement, that inspiration that I just got, and now I'm trying to engage my Nefesh Bahamis and involve Nefesh Bahamis. It should also get excited. And that's why the person is called Oved Elokim, someone who serves God. What it means to say is not Eved, which means a servant, which means I already reached my level of total devotion to Hashem, but Oved, which is a verb, something which is happening now. And it comes from Lashon Oris Aguda. In Hebrew also means hide, which is the skin of animals that is very rough and tough, but when you work on it and you refine it, then it could be used for clothing, for jackets, for coats, for different things. So it means that the word Avodah really doesn't just mean doing mitzvahs. It means refinement, taking something that's coarse and making it more refined. In other words, even if the nefesh bahamis, even if the person doesn't do averis, but it can still be very coarse nefesh bahamis. What does coarse mean? doesn't feel godliness. Everything it does because of, personal gains. This will bring me money, this will bring me bracha, this will bring me hatzlacha, which is also okay as long as I'm doing the right thing. But it's a coarse way of doing it. Or maybe a fine way of doing it is where the Nefesh Bahamis has a passion for godliness and does Torah mitzvahs, because through that I become connected to Hashem. Like our sages say, the Malach HaMamun al Heroin, about the angel that's in charge of conception when a woman conceives a baby. So Sheol, the Malach, comes to Hashem and says, Tipazu ma tehei oleha. This drop of semen, meaning what will be with this child? What will be the future of this child? And Hashem says this child will grow up to be smart or not smart. This child will be strong or weak. But one thing Hashem doesn't say is tzaddik or rasha le'kamar. He doesn't say if the child will grow up to be tzaddik or a rasha, because when it comes to spiritual matters, that's not something which Hashem declares, but every person has to have their own free choice. This is one of the first things in the first chapter of Tanya. Now we're going back to the pasuk. V'zeu ki Yakriv mikem, that he'll bring a carbon from you. This means Loshem mikem hainu nefesh elokis levad. So when it says from you, it means the nefesh elokis, which is the real essence of a yid. When it says korbanchem, your carbon, that's min habehema. Hainu levader hanefesh habahamis. That's about refining the animal soul. Either by subduing it or by transforming it. And how do we accomplish that? By meditating on the greatness of Hashem. And meditating in a way, every person, according to the capacity of their brain. And when you understand the greatness of Hashem properly, this will give birth to Abba Aza, Gamba Nefesh Bahamis, that even my Nefesh Bahamis will be on fire with a passionate love for Hashem. But again, what comes first? First comes Iskapia, then comes Ishapcha. And that's what he says in the next line. Mitzilut Tzarchlis Iskapia. You can't start with his hapcha. First, it starts with his kapi, which means to subdue and to discipline and to restrain my nefesh habayis in the three garments of the soul: thought, speech, and action. In other words, not to violate Hashem's will in thought, not to violate Hashem's will in speech, and not to violate Hashem's will in action. And once I've done that, then he can come to the level of ishapcha, which means to be transformed completely. First, you have to discipline Nefesh Bahamis, and then you can go to the next step, where he's transformed completely. So these words that you should bring your carbon from the behema means your carbon, meaning our responsibility is Nefesh Bahamis. But now he's going to give a deeper meaning even to those words. Another explanation of the words, you should bring it from the animal. This is as we explained before. In order to subdue, in order to purify the Nefesh Bahamis, is by its roots, connecting to its source and its roots, where it comes from. And where does it come from? The ox of the Merkava. So when it says Minah Behema, it means to tell our Nefesh Bahamis, remember where you're from, remember what your origin is, what your source is. The Krishma. I guess those people that say that we come from apes are not so far off, But they're not talking about chas v'shalom. They're talking about physical apes, and we're talking about an ox, but that's angels, not an ox begashmos. So therefore, we remind the Nefesh Bahamis in the brachas before the Shema, Eich Shem Malachim v'Chayis HaKodesh, the Malachim and the other angels which are called Holy Chayis, Magdishim, Mamlichim, they sanctify Hashem and they crown Hashem. Shemizeh Dafke to spell the Nefesh Bahamis, that's what will get the Nefesh Bahamis excited. V'zeh min habehemet Yakriv es Hayim Abchinis Pnei Shesh B'Mekava. So the deeper meaning of the word from behema, that's where your carbon comes from. It means the behema up there. That if you tell your Nefesh Bahamis where its source is, that it'll help the Nefesh Bahamis overcome it more. So I think on a practical level, what does it mean for us? It means to understand that even that, just to make it simple, even that nature in me, that I am drawn towards all sorts of physical, materialistic passions and pleasures, even that originally and initially and at the core level, that's also godly. It's just once it evolved and came down here, now we got involved in gashmis and in chumris and all sorts of physical and materialistic things. But in essence, the original desire of the Nefesh Bahamis was just like the Malachim, was about praising Hashem, love for Hashem, and fear of Hashem. And I guess if you look at it that way, then I don't have I don't have to be worried or feel that I'll never be able to change my Nefesh Bahamis. I think this would be, again, similar to Miftzayim. We know that there are thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of Jews that are frum Jews, and they care about Torah mitzvahs, but they're really not involved in Miftzayim. And had they been, the whole world would have been a different world, because could you imagine if another million people would be busy teaching Torah to others? And then those people would be teaching Torah to others, it would be exponential growth. But the reason for that is because they feel, first of all, they feel that it's a little bit dangerous to go and to speak to people who don't believe in Hashem. Maybe you'll be influenced by it. Or they feel that, my responsibility is to learn Torah myself. I'm not responsible to go out to teach others. But what happens with most of these people is also another thing, as a result of the fact that they're not involved, is that they don't even think that it's possible to talk to someone who's totally secular, doesn't keep anything Torah mitzvahs. How's it even possible to talk to this person and try to inspire them to keep Shabbos or Kashrus or Tefillin or Mezuzah? They can't see how that's possible. And what do we say? We say, especially when you study Chassidus, we say the reason why it's possible is, first of all, of course, we go as a shluchim of the Rebbe, so it's a special kayach, but there's more to it. We say that deep down, this person I'm talking to wants what I'm talking to him about. There's a part of that person that's almost like craving and yearning and waiting that someone should approach him and tell him about Torah mitzvahs. Without that knowledge, you're thinking, oh, this person is going to be upset. This person is going to be annoyed. Why am I talking to him about Shabbos, Torah, mitzvahs? And if you look at it that way, you're afraid to approach them. But if you look at it the other way, that actually deep down, this person has a nefesh elokis, and they really want themselves Torah mitzvah, but they were never exposed to it. They never taught about it. And when I come over, something in them will actually light up and get excited. And that's the reaction you're going to see, and that's how you see it with hundreds of thousands of people that it did happen. That's the basis why I feel that I could approach and I could make a change. Once heard from Rabbi Friedman said that he met a couple, that they were a from Lubavitch couple, and they said that they have a resentment towards a certain rabbi. Why? They weren't religious when they got married. Good morning. Good morning. They weren't religious when they got married, but they lived in a certain community where the rabbi who was going to officiate the wedding happened to be a religious rabbi. And I think they even said he was a shliach or a Chabad rabbi. And he never told them anything about family purity. Later, they got involved in Yiddishkeit, and actually they became totally frum. But they said to themselves, had he spoken to them then, they could have started off their marriage totally different, and who knows how many years earlier they could have been involved in Torah mitzvahs. So he said that he happened to, a while later, meet that rabbi, and he told him the story. And he said, and what is the reason? Why didn't you speak to them about it? What were you thinking? So he said, I didn't think they were the type. In other words, I didn't think that they're the type to react. But the truth is, where the Rebbe explains to us, every Yid is the type. It just depends on me, what words I'm going to use, what effort I'm going to make, how many times I'm going to speak to them. If you can't get through the door, you go through the chimney, you go this way, you go that way. And that's what we see. The same thing with our Nefesh Bahamas. If I get to understand that even that part of me, I say to myself, there's something in me has this passion for Gashmis, for physical, for material. How can I overpower that? And I realize that even that passion for materialism is only the outside shell. Deep inside, it's really the passion of the angels that love Hashem. Then, if I think of it that way, I realize that I could turn that around. And again, I want to say, even this, when you think to yourself, I can turn around my passion for Nefesh Bahamas for Hashem. Yes, even we today can do it in a very simple way. And that is, every person before they become from has certain passions. You take that very same passion and you direct it in a Kedushitic way. So, for example, a person had a passion for art. Person had a passion for music. Person had a passion for drama. Person had a passion in science. And then you use that passion to direct people to Torah mitzvahs, or use it in a way to enhance Torah mitzvahs, which is you can use music and art and drama and science and math. Everything can be used in a way that's going to sort of enhance Torah mitzvahs. What I'm doing is I'm taking that very same passion that I had before, and now it's being used in a Kedushitic way. That's transforming my Nefesh Bahamas, that its passion is going towards Hashem. I know someone that he was living in a community where he was very involved. In that community, there was no such thing as conservative Judaism. He was very involved in introducing conservative Judaism. There was only Reform and Orthodox. So what happens when you introduce conservative, which is like in the middle? Two things could happen. There are certain people that are Orthodox, or they go to the Orthodox shul only because the Reform is too far left for them. Now that it's going to be conservative, they'll join the conservative. And then there'll be people that the opposite is true. That I'm saying, you're right, they're going to go down. Then there'll be people that were in the Reform only because it's too far, only because the Orthodox is too much for them. But now they'll be conservative, they'll upgrade their Yiddishkeit to conservative. But usually the end result of something like this is more bringing things down than bringing things up. And there was someone who was trying to work with him and tell him not to do it. Didn't succeed. And eventually they began to learn Chassidus. And eventually he turned around. And he was a person who had a lot of leadership qualities. And that's why he did this. He wanted to make a change. He wanted to do things. Once he turned around, and once he became frum, he didn't give up his leadership qualities. He had that same passion, but now he used the passion in leading people, inspiring people to Torah mitzvahs. That's literally taking my Nefesh Bahamas and turning it around. And I think we find it in this generation more than ever, where people who are using whatever it is that they gain in the secular world and using that to serve Hashem in a more enhanced way. Okay. Now let's get to the animals. What kind of Nefesh Bahamas do you have? A or B? Type A or type B? Let's see. Then the pasuk says, "The pirush min habokim min hatzayit, bring a carbon. It should be from the cattle or from the sheep." What does this refer to? Shtei madreges chalukas stage benefesh habahamis. There are two kinds of nefesh habahamis. And by the way, as many people as there are, that's how many kinds of nefesh habahamis there are. But it means two general categories, which is Yeshu mishu mubchinas bakar. Some people have a nefesh habahamis that they would be compared more to cattle, like an ox. Sher nagach, an ox is an animal that gores, which means it's an aggressive animal. Bchinas gvuras koshes, like a person shukasan, that he's an angry person, b'tivei. Shemida razu, this attribute of anger, for example, also is aggressive, a lot of anger, a lot of negative energy. Because it's something that's so hot-tempered, it's called bakar. But again, there's so many different categories in this. But in general, it means a more aggressive kind of nefesh habahamis. Yeshmi, then there's another type of person, Sheiner Rascham B'Tivi. He's not such a hot-tempered person, not because he learned Torah or he learned Pirkei Avos. He's just by nature more of a calm person. That's not his nature to get all angry and excited and become on fire with hate or worse than that. So Chelek Harasha, what's his negative thing? Yesa Bal Taiva. He's more into physical pleasure. Ushanavsha Bahamis Ubchinas Tzain, and that's compared more to sheep. Sheinon Negan. Sheep are not animals that they attack or that they're goring or that they're aggressive. On the contrary, Koilam Brachmanis. The Gemara says that the voice of sheep is more like compassion. It arouses compassion. It's soft and gentle and arouses softness and gentleness and compassion. Elishem Balataiva, but they have other pleasures that this animal seeks, like every animal is looking for pleasure. So we have two different kinds of nefesh habahamis. In general, one which is more aggressive, another one which is more passive, but they're both nefesh habahamis. And both of them have to be controlled and have to be contained. And that's what it says in the pasuk, page 51, 51. Which means the kolecha, the klimat, the yoda benafshe, every person has to work with his nefesh habahamis according to its nature. So every person has to work with that particular character trait, and then it'll have its permanent effect. So in other words, even though we all have the same avodah, and that's to subdue and transform our nefesh habahamis, but the details are different from one person to another. And in fact, every person has to specifically, more than anything else, specifically work with that aspect of nefesh habahamis, which is more pronounced than other aspects. Like this person who has anger, and that stands out. That's the thing that I need to work on with my nefesh habahamis. Not other areas, because that's not such a big yetzer hara. But this, there's a commentary on the fact that it says when Hashem gave the Torah to Yidden, he first went to the other nations. He went to the children of Yishmael, he went to the children of Esav, and he asked them, would you like to receive the Torah? So one of them said, tell us what it says there. You want me to buy this material? What does it say there? You want me to get this merchandise? What does it say? Hashem said, it says, do not kill. Oh, do not kill? No, that's not for us. So they rejected it. Then he went to the other, and they said, what does it say there? Do not commit adultery. Oh, not commit adultery, that's not for us. And then he came to the Yidden, and the Yidden said, Nasa v'nishma. Basically, both of these nations, Hashem chose that particular commandment, which there is their main weakness. So it's not fair. Hashem would have said, honor your parents. They would have said, oh, that sounds nice. Keep Shabbos. Oh, that sounds easy. Why did he have to say that thing, which is their biggest weakness, and immediately get discouraged from accepting the Torah? It's almost like it was all set up. So the answer is no. The whole purpose of Torah for each individual is mainly that particular thing, which is my weakness. That's where my main area of Avodah is required. That's why it says this person that by nature, his main thing is he has an aggressive Yetzer Hara. That's what you need to work on your aggressiveness. That person will say, I'm not going to work on the aggressiveness, but I'll work on learning a little bit better, davening a little bit better. And Hashem says, that's not your Yetzer Hara. Work on this thing, which is your Yetzer Hara, which is the aggressiveness. And the other person, which is like the sheep, that he doesn't have aggressiveness, but he has this, he's drawn to all sorts of lust and taiva and pleasure in the physical materialistic world, will also say, I'm not going to work on that. I'll work on not being aggressive. For you not being aggressive, you don't have to work too hard. That's not your job. You work on the thing which is your weakness. And that's why the Eibush has said to each nation, are you ready to work on your weakness? That's the main thing. If you're not ready to give that up, you're not ready to receive the Torah. When Yidden said Nasa v'nishma, that no matter what it says, no matter what's written, we're ready to take it on. And they said, we're ready to take it on, but not this particular thing, which is my biggest pleasure in life. I don't want to give that up. They say that in Russia, the communists, they wanted everybody to show how loyal they are. So they came to this person, simple man, and said to him, if you would have 100 cows and 50 chickens and 30 horses, what would you do with it? So I give it all the way to Mother Russia, to the government. Very nice. What if you would have 50 cows and 20 chickens and 10 horses? What would you do with it? I give it all the way to Russia. Keep going like that. And then they say, and if you would have 1 cow and 1 chicken and 1 horse, what would you do? So, I'm not sure I'm ready to give that away. So I understand if you would have 100, you'd give it all away. If you have 50, you'd give it all away. And why, if you have 1, wouldn't you be ready to give it away? Oh, so because I really have that. I can give away 50 and 100. I can give away the George Washington Bridge and the Williamsburg Bridge and the Empire State Building. It doesn't belong to me. I can give it away. But what's really mine, I might not be ready to give away. Same thing with the Nefesh Bahamas. Nefesh Bahamas has a lot of different things that it's attached to. But that thing, which is really my biggest passion, that's the main area where it expresses my loyalty to Hashem. Am I ready to give that up? That's basically what he's saying here. So each Nefesh Bahamas has a different avodah, the way to deal with it, just like Begashmis. Every disease and every sickness has a different way. You have to heal it. This you heal through this kind of medicine. This you heal through a different kind of medicine. This is through this exercise. That's a different exercise. So too spiritually, every kind of Nefesh Bahamas needs a different avodah. It was once 2 Chassidim that were both getting ready to go in to see the Rabbi Marash. And one of them, and apparently they were talking with each other before, and apparently they were going in for something similar, I guess, something that they both needed to work on. So the first chassid went in, asked the Rabbi Marash for advice and a path, and it gave him something to do. The second chassid heard that, thought that's amazing. when he went into the Rebbe Marash, she told him something else that he should do, which he really wasn't very excited. I don't think he was such a great chassid, because he said to the Rebbe Marash, Rebbe, I heard you told the other chassid to do something else. Why are you telling me to do this? Like, I'd really like you to tell me to do what you told him. So the Rebbe Marash was known that he would very often answer and speak in a humorous way. So he said to him, listen, if I'm going to tell everybody the same thing, what kind of Rebbe am I? I have to say something different. But what's the real answer? The real answer is he has one kind of Nefesh Bahamis. I had to tell him one thing. You have a different kind of Nefesh Bahamis. For you, the answer is different. It's not the same. It looks like it's the same, but it's two different people, so it's two different things. Now we're going back to the pasuk where it says, Hashem, pull me towards you, pull me, singular, towards you, and we will run after you. Again, the switch from singular to plural. Why? So he says, this is the explanation. When it says, draw me to you, in singular, it's Rusa Delayla. That's referring to the Rusa Delayla, the awakening from above. When the light from above shines, which soul is it shining to? Not both, only the Nefesh Kiss. We just finished explaining that Nefesh Bahamis doesn't gain anything from that light. It doesn't relate to it. It doesn't respond to it because it doesn't respond to light. Small words as a references. But after the Nefesh Kiz gets the inspiration, what does the Nefesh Kiz do? Now it works on the Nefesh Bahamis. That's why it says afterwards, we will both run after you. Meaning, after the Nefesh Kiz is inspired, then Nefesh Kiz has influence on the Nefesh Bahamis, and together they're both running towards Hashem. The Nefesh Kiz, Nefesh Bahamis. Now both of us are running towards Hashem. The last part of that pasuk is Hashem, the king, brings me to his private chamber. So that we'll explain in Mirza Hashem next time. On Monday, we'll go further into the pasuk what that means. Okay, we'll stop here. Good Shabbos, everybody.
Here's a difference. No, it's this.